Welcome to HPK Provident Advisors Friday Live. Of course, every Friday, just about every Friday, the partners, 1, 2, 3 of the partners get onto Facebook at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk a little bit about the markets. We talk a little bit about financial planning. Really what we're doing is we have some social posts that go out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Of course, we got Market Monday. One of our partners, Mike Kutch, puts out kind of the week ahead of what he thinks is going to go on in the market. Tuesday's Tax Tuesday, social posts on various tax topics that affect financial planning. Wealth Building Wednesday. These are just ideas on really financial planning, how to build your wealth over time. And then Think Ahead Thursday. These are the things that you may not be doing right now, but you might want to consider. So today we got David Harper, the senior most partner of HPK Provident Advisors. Happy Friday to you, David.
It's sweet to be here. Happy New Year, folks.
Yeah, this is for David and I. This is our first time for the year for 2026 on Friday Live. The last couple Friday Lives, Mike Kutch, our other partner, had been covering those. I took a little time off. David took a little time off. David had a lot of things going on in your world. And so we give Mike a break this week. He normally talks about the economic data and whatnot. We will do our level best to cover some of that for you, but we gave him a break because he really stepped in on the Friday Live over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so, Brian, as you know, there were 13 immediate family members here in Sarasota. 11 of them moved within the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Yes.
Now I do not, and so for our audience, I'm that surprise look is not is not for effect. I didn't know that. Holy heck!
It was brutal last couple weeks. So Patty and I purchased a new house and we moved in December 18th. Our daughter's family, 4, is moving from her house in Parrish down to our house in Sarasota.
Perfect.
Okay. Our brother, my brother-in-law moved into his house. Yep. So that's 7. And then Colin and his family moved December 27th up to Cincinnati. So the only people that didn't move was Ron and Jean. He's 97, she's 86. And believe it or not, in 2025, they had to be out of their house on 2 separate occasions for about at least a month each. So there's been a lot of activity in 2025 of moving around, but I have this nice brick wall facade behind me. It's not my house.
That is not that's not what your new office looks like. Is that what you're saying?
So that is correct.
Well, that certainly is. So why does everybody move during the holidays? My heavens,
it was rough. 3 separate movers.
You should have got some volume discounting is what you should have done. If you got everybody moving, maybe you could swing a deal with somebody, you know.
Well, we did have movers for me and my daughter, okay, a week apart, okay. And truth be told, my desk now was the desk I had 7 years ago that my son-in-law had been using for the last 3. So it came back from his house into my house. And so a lot of moving parts. And that group, if you're near Sarasota, I will get you the name of these excellent movers. They did a great job. Okay. But I am tired of moving mattresses.
So that's our first value add for 2026 is we got a recommendation for some excellent movers in the greater Sarasota area. I love it. Well, I tell you, let's get into a little bit of this. New year. Some people talk about resolutions, and I like to talk about financial goals. I certainly encourage. I've been talking to some of the folks that we work with about establishing a goal. What is the one or two things that you want to accomplish in your financial life for the year? And everybody has kind of a list, but what we know is time goes very quickly, and you've probably had some of these goals in your mind: save more, spend less, whatever it might be. Those are the big categories. But we certainly do encourage people to have something in mind that you'd like to accomplish for the year, and some of them sound simple. Again, save more, spend less, whatever your goal might be, and it's I'll knock that out by the end of January. It won't be long, and it will be November, December of 2026, and you'll say, I didn't really get around to that. So keep that in mind. We'd like to partner with our clients and be their accountability person, the accountability partner in their world on those things, and gently remind them that, hey, we had talked in the beginning of the year, and we'd certainly like to help you accomplish that goal in your life, and kind of bring it up on, in our regular conversations and our regular reviews. So we certainly encourage folks to do that. Now, one of those goals should not be, I want the market to go up so I make more money. A goal is something that has a time frame and is something that you can directly control. The market has a time frame. It's pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, except for holidays, and it's nothing that you can control. So that's not a good goal, is for the market to go up. David, but there are some people that are talking about the market going up this year. David, you want to cover a little bit of that? Where this is one of our posts this week. We're going to go ahead and add that in there. And so these are some of the big prognosticators. Your thoughts on it when you saw these numbers, David?
This could be a fun segment. Okay. Everyone likes to look about outlook. What is your outlook for 2026?
Yeah.
Okay? And I really love this little chart that came around. These are the big boys. Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, RBC, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and then we averaged them. Okay. They have multiple people that are very smart, and they're asked, what's your outlook for 2026? Where do you think the S&P 500 will end up December 31st of 2026? Well, I'm laughing about the Bank of America is at 7,100. That might be broken today.
So very quite possible.
So are they looking for no growth? It looks that way. And then you have the Deutsche Bank at 8,000. And I first looked at that, and I could have sworn I saw it 8,100. Okay, so maybe they changed it by 100 just recently. Okay, no. But understand that they often change during the course of the year. Okay, but as of January 1st, 2026, this is what they're looking for it to be. Okay, the S&P 500. It doesn't go linear. It doesn't go a straight line. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down. So think to yourself of playing with a yo-yo, walking up a flight of stairs. If you can have that mental image, then you have a better understanding of what the stock market does. Going up and down, well, hopefully you're going up a flight of stairs, but you could also be going down on the flight of stairs while you're still playing with that yo-yo. Okay. This year, if you take out the high, the Deutsche Bank at 8,000, take out the low of the Bank of America 7,100, and you're pretty much left with around that average, which is around about 10%, plus or minus. At 10%, and I had a great conversation with one of the money managers that we use, Brian Salerno, at City National Rockdale. And this was right before the end of the year. And he and I were having fun talking about, hey, Brian Salerno, what's your outlook for 2026? And I'm having fun. We're having fun. And we're saying, well, Um, he, like myself, and probably Brian and Mike, we're looking at a 10% return, plus or minus, but it's going to be choppy. What
The
do you
yo-yo is going to be going up and down a lot.
Yes, more so than it was in 2025. Okay. And we were sort of talking. I said, Brian, there's good reason why we would think of the market being rather choppy. Not the least of which is, the administration in the White House, um, whether you're for Trump or against Trump, regardless, he does not stay still. He moves, and he moves.
So we learned. So we have learned.
Yeah, things happen. Um, things happen even since January 1st, and things happen quickly. And if you blink, there's something else that happened. So when you have something that lives on adrenaline, how can it not be? How can the market not be choppy? Um, so think of that is we used to say something about the new normal. That is the new normal in regard to being choppy. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, I don't care what you call it. It's a reality. It is going to be choppy. Okay. Now, let me tell you, Brian, can I have time for a story?
Oh, David, we always have time for your stories. We've come to expect them, quite honestly.
Okay. This is a fun story. If you're from Indiana County, you should be familiar with Route 954. Comes out of North 6th Street, and you connect to 954, and it goes on up to through Creekside, and then it goes up through into boy, I just had but it goes through the higher spot until you get up to 85, Route 85. Okay, um, where the Amish are. Okay, now this 954 is more of a snake. It goes left, right, up, down. All right, and when it goes, it's a fun road. If you don't have a motorcycle,
It's a great motorcycle road. I know that for a
very
fact.
much so. On a car, as long as you know what you're doing, it's fun. Now, we have in our family a word. I'm not sure if the Webster dictionary has picked up on it yet. Okay, but I made up this word of fluhardy. What's a fluhardy? Okay, well, if we were driving on this 954 to go up to the Amish country, my two children, Colin was, I don't even think he was 10 at the time, and Justine was 8. And we had two international students from Kenya in the car. And Colin is talking to one of the students saying, do you know what a fluhardy is? Fluhudi. Do you know what a fluhudi is? Okay. And at one of those times, the road has a rise, and then the road disappears underneath, and so you're a little airborne, a little bit. And there's a series of those on 954. You're going up, down, up, down. It's when your stomach comes up into your throat, and then it takes your breath away, and then it settles back down. Well, after 3 of those, Colin tells the students that that's a fluhudi. So expect some fluhudis in 2026, and we'll see if we can't get that in the Webster dictionary. So if you feel that your stomach is coming up into your throat and you lost your breath, okay, take a breath. Ron Zucchelli has already given us the permission to breathe because the alternative is a killer. Okay. So take a moment, breathe, and then let it settle. Okay. And this is a great segue into financial planning because if you want to get off of Route 954, there's some people that avoid Route 954, and for good reason. Okay? Because once you go over one of those rises and the road disappears, and then you see a horse and buggy right ahead of you, you better put on the brakes quick. And hopefully you're on the pavement when you put the brakes on, and not and not in the midst of a flutie. Okay.
So our outlook is a lot of flahooties on a generally positive trend.
Yes.
So we're going to get to our destination on 954 with some flahooties along the way. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to get that anywhere else. You can read Deutsche JP Morgan outlooks all you want. You're not getting that. I love it. But yet, hey, David, it paints a wonderful mental and physical picture, because a lot of people do have obviously a mental reaction to, and we just saw it with the whole situation in Venezuela. That's a flahootie, right? A lot of people say, oh my, but it does tie into the financial planning in the sense that we're going to have these things. Market doesn't go up in a straight linear path. Sunflowers don't grow to the sun, that type of thing. But kind of like we were talking about financial goals, focus on those things that you can control or you have a great deal of influence over. There's three things in life: things you can control, things you can influence, the things you can't do a darn thing about. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people that really spend a lot of mental energy on the things you can't do anything about. Yeah, we did not get consulted on whether the United States was going into Venezuela. I didn't get a call. There's nothing I can do about that. So focus on those things you can control, the things you can't control: spending, saving, for the most part. Having a goal, that would be, that is the message today. You can control what your intentions will be and what your actions will be during the year. You can't control what the market's going to do. Certainly can't control what the world political environment is. So kind of what David was talking about, what you can control is if you're on 954, you're staying on the road, you know where you're going, you know what you want to do getting there, and you're paying attention. You can influence whether a deer runs out in front of you and not running into that deer. You can't control the deer running across in front of you, but you can influence it by the way you drive and having a goal. Your goal is to get from here to there. Your goal is to do that as safely as possible, and the things you can influence, and recognize when the flahooties come that you're still on your path. I love it. Well, we had some jobs numbers today. I am not going to do nearly as good of a job as Mike does. Of course, Mike Kutch, who is taking Friday Live off today because he really did pitch in. Thank you for doing that, Mike, over the holidays. He does a much better job. His role in our firm is really the asset management. He's the portfolio manager for our firm. And so he spends all of his time looking at this data. This is a big day for him, the first day of the jobs data. So I hope to portray a similar level of excitement about these things. But in the last couple of days, just today, there were 50,000 jobs added in December. The expectation was 60 to 70. The unemployment rate fell to 4.4 from 4.6. The JOLTS number, which is the job openings, that went in November. It was about 7.1 million. It was low. That's the lowest number in over a year. Hiring did slow. Layoffs remained relatively low. So I did talk to Mike a little bit this morning, and he prepped me on these things. Again, these are things that he studies. Now, why would you study that? Is that just an academic exercise? Is it, just something he's kind of interested in? Plenty of people study these numbers. Well, in our firm, Mike studies these things and says, okay, how does this affect our portfolios? Does this warrant an adjustment? Does this warrant a change? Is it beginning a trend? Is it a continuation of a trend? And ultimately that leads to What should we do? What do we think is the best thing to do on behalf of our clients in our portfolios? That's why he studies those things. These things change constantly. And then we weren't getting data there for a while during the government shutdown. So that's what Mike does in our portfolios. But when I talked to him, he was not surprised. He was not concerned. He was not getting heartburn over any of these numbers. And I'm going to let him elaborate on that. By the way, speaking of Outlook, we are going to do an HPK Provident Advisors Outlook webinar on a Wednesday, January 28th. So we're going to do that at about 4 p.m. You'll see information come out on social media. You'll see that on our website. We will email that information to our clients. And so we are going to summarize a lot of these things, some of the bits and pieces, the data points that we're talking about right now, and say, this is what we're preparing for. This is not a crystal ball. We are not saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're saying this is what we're preparing for with the Flahooties along the way. That ties into our financial planning, right? David and I spend a lot of time helping people manage what their timeframes are. Hey, I want to buy a house in a year. I want to move in a year. That money probably should not be have an opportunity to grow a lot and fluctuate. So if you have a time frame of 1 year, we're going to look at that differently. We're going to have that pot of money differently. For other folks to say, hey, I've got a 30-year retirement ahead of me. Then that's a different pot of money. And then, you deal with the Flahooties, you deal with, deer runs out in front of you and you got to stop for a little bit in the analogy that we've been talking about. So, but that'll be on Wednesday, January 28th. Information, details, login information is coming out on there. So we'll get some more.
And we have a couple of door prizes.
Okay. We will have door prizes. And those are to be named, but they we'll mention that in the communications that we have going out. Any other thoughts on Outlook, jobs data, that kind of thing, David? And anything else you want to add to that?
It seems to be a thing to take something for us to continue to monitor, because if jobs are slowing and the labor market continues to weaken, then employers are less likely to hire, less likely to bring perhaps other employees back. And so there would be a general downslow, a general slowing of the economy, which causes people to spend less. However, because the optimism of artificial intelligence, technology, and we can't underestimate the tax refund climate here in 2026 for the 2025 tax year. There's an anticipation for a greater tax refunds, and that puts more money in people's pocket. Now we already know that those persons who I think is it 60 and older, Brian, will receive an additional $6,000.
65. Yeah, 65. Age 65 and older. Yeah, $6,000 per individual. There is a phase out range on that, so it's not for everybody. Yeah. It's going to depend on your income that you're reporting. So each individual over the age of 65 gets an additional $6,000 deduction. And obviously married filing jointly, that would be two individuals, and that would be $12,000. That's a pretty significant additional. This is an additional deduction. It's not replacing, it's an add-on to the other standard deduction. There has been an over 65 deduction. That number depends. If you're an individual, don't quote me on this. Talk to your CPA. We don't give tax or legal advice. So talk to your tax preparer on this. I believe it's $1,650 for the or $2,000 for the individual, then $1,650 married filing jointly. So that $6,000 that we're talking about is new, and it's an add-on to standard. It's the add-on to what had originally been the over 65 today. This is a new one.
And why we bring that up is that it's a way of bringing more money into people's pockets. If you've got coins jiggling in your pocket, it's more likely to spend. So even though the job market might be slowing a bit, or the hiring might be slow. The wages have gone up almost by 3.8% year over year. So there's some good signs, and there's some not so good signs. But regardless of all that, you have this overarching picture of more money coming in people's pockets. That's where the optimism is coming from. Oil is less to fill up your tank with gas is a whole lot less than it was a year ago.
Well, that is absolutely true, and a lot of people can make a very simple argument that the market goes with spending. It's the largest part of gross domestic product of all the goods and services in the country is consumer spending. So folks are out spending, and then you overlay on that things like David was talking about, AI, this technology revolution. This stuff is going to change the world. There's no doubt about it. The blockchain, AI, things along those lines. You overlay that, could be a good year, but we don't know. We don't know. So that's where the financial planning comes in. You have appropriate goals. You focus on the things you can control, and you put in your mind, I am going to focus on this year. And it doesn't have to be a million things. It doesn't have to be I'm going to save more. I'm going to spend less. I'm going to do coupons all the time. I'm going to pick one that is going to move the needle for you, because time goes very quickly. Well, one of the things talking about. I'm going to add this. This is one of our social posts. This was on Tax Tuesday, talking about things that you can control. You can control your asset location. Everybody talks about asset allocation: stocks, bonds, large, mid, small, municipals, corporate, that kind of thing. And you can control where you put those monies, where you put them. You can't control, once they're there. You can't control what the stock market and the bond market does, but you certainly can't control qualified versus non-qualified. So this was our post on Tuesday for Tax Tuesday. And David, as you know, and many people have come to recognize, the financial services industry has kind of their own lingo. And some folks like to use that lingo and just assume everybody understands what it means. So we thought we'd be kind of clear on what qualified and non-qualified. You'll talk to folks and say, I got a lot of qualified money. I got a lot of non-qualified. What exactly does that mean? Really what it comes down to, does it qualify for a tax break, or does it not qualify for a certain tax break? Now, to simplify it, qualified, when somebody says that to you, and we use that terminology as well, generally means the retirement plans that you know about. In general, that's what it means. So we're talking about when you hear qualified, it's the 401ks, whether it be a traditional or a Roth, IRAs, 457s, 403bs, and that kind of thing. So recognize when you're talking to somebody, they're talking about qualified money, that generally it qualifies for the tax breaks in those IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457s, that type of thing. And then there's two types. There's traditional and there's Roth. Well, what's the difference between the two? It really comes down to when you pay the taxes. Traditional, you get a tax break, a deduction on the way in. It grows tax protected. And then when it comes out, it's taxable. So you pay the taxes on the way out, essentially, in a traditional qualified plan. In a Roth qualified plan, you pay the taxes in the beginning on the way in. It grows tax protected. And if you follow all the rules, you don't pay taxes because you paid it on the way in, not on the way out. Generally, that's what a qualified account is. A non-qualified account is a regular investment account, right? I'm going to save a bunch of money. I'm going to buy some stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I put it into a CD, whatever you do. It doesn't have that qualified tax protector around it. There are still tax implications to that. But the beauty of the qualified accounts is this tax protection along the way. If you follow the rules, and it grows tax protected, and you either take it out tax-free or taxable, depending on what type of the account is. On those non-qualified accounts, it doesn't have that protected wrapper. So you pay taxes along the way. If you have capital gains, dividends, interest, you pay it each year as it's there. But it's the most flexible. There's very little rules around it. You put as much in as you want. You take as much money as you want out. So that's really the difference. Try to simplify it as much as possible. So the simple version is when you think of qualified, and there's going to be somebody out there that's going to say, "Well, Brian, you didn't cover this part of the qualified." It's a big bug, but in general, let's simplify this. People are talking about when they're talking about qualified, they're talking about retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 57 account. And then non-qualified is just this investment account that has no restriction. You add money in as you want, you take money out as you want, all these other things. Qualified money has all these tax benefits, but there's a deal with the IRS. How much you could put in, how much you could take out, when you could take it out, ages, things along those lines. Non-qualified money, no restrictions. You pay taxes as you go. That's the simple version of it. Check out the post on that one. So we like to take what often are portrayed as very complicated concepts and simplify it so people can understand it and take action on it and make a decision for yourself. This is asset location. I have a few dollars that I want to save. First of all, we understand what we want to understand from you what you want to save it for. This is for my long-term money. This is for when I'm not working. Okay, that's retirement money. Default goes to qualified. We're going to get the tax protection. This is asset location. I got some money to save for my future. Where is the best place to do it? That's your asset location. You can absolutely control what your asset location is. And then we help you to understand what the pros and cons of that location is.
Sure. So a simple explanation would be if you want to buy a car in 4 years, you don't want to put that into a qualified account.
Generally, no.
You want to be able to have access to that without restrictions.
That's right.
Okay. Likewise, if you want to go toward a house or so forth, again, that would probably be most likely beneficial for you to have that in a non-qualified account as opposed to a qualified. Okay. But those are all decisions that we can help you through based on your particular situation. It could be that you're over 59 and a half and you don't have to worry about some of the restrictions from the qualified account. But if you're 30 years old and you put money in a qualified account, you want to buy a house. Well, are you looking to buy a house 30 years down the road when you're 59 and a half? Okay. You see the point? And I'll have one other issue, and it's not a simple one. Okay, so I'll just bring it out and say annuities are complicated instruments. Okay, although every annuity is considered a retirement account, not all annuities are qualified. There are some annuities that are considered non-qualified. So if you have a question about annuity, there's no set. It's like the English language. Okay. There are exceptions on how to pronounce a certain word. Okay. And that's the case of the annuities. There's an exception. Okay. So if you have a question about annuities, they're a different beast. They don't fully, yes, they fall under the qualified and non-qualified piece, but it's not as black and white as retirement and non-retirement. Okay, so
yeah, that's a great point. Where you got to kind of wrap this up. I enjoy these conversations, and I hope people recognize we enjoy them because they run long. So I hope you appreciate that as opposed to saying, "Hey, this is kind of run along." This is really our passion coming through and working with folks and helping them reach their goals. But we say all the time, and we'll continue to say, annuities are available through life insurance companies. I don't love or dislike life insurance and life insurance companies, but what I will say is my personal philosophy, and I could say it's the philosophy of our firm in the financial planning, when life insurance products, whether that be whole life or permanent policies and annuities and that, life insurance products, as I'll call them, solutions, let's call them solutions. Life insurance solutions, when they are used properly in the right scenario, there's nothing else that can do what they do. Yes. When they are overused and are become just kind of the default, hey, everybody got to have this. That's where they get the bad press. So we are neither pro nor con. We just philosophically, and you can go to somebody else that says, hey, Save for retirement. You need life insurance. You want to save, you want to save for a car, life insurance. There are folks out there that would say that it becomes the Swiss Army tool. We don't, or the Swiss Army tool. We don't say that. But what we do recognize is when those things are used for the right people in the right situation for the right pot of their overall financial life, there's really nothing else that can do what it does. But it's got to be placed properly in the right scenario, and it's not for everybody. So I would figure we'd add on our philosophy. How we feel about that philosophically. Okay, David, thoughts, questions, hopes, feelings, concerns, anything else? We will be back, by the way, as I mentioned before, we'll be back at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Friday as well, which brings us to the middle of January 2026 already, and that'll be the 16th. So we'll have more content there. But please take a look at our social posts. Markets on Monday, taxes on Tuesday, wealth building on Wednesday. I think I had Thursday. Each of those are very quick reads. It's a matter of a couple minutes. And if you have questions on that, feel free to email us at info@hpkprovident.com or tune in and we'll elaborate on them. Sometimes a little more than you want to, but we will elaborate on those.
And enjoy the flahooties.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? Because they will come. They will be here. We know that. They're coming. We don't know how often and when, but when they get there, you might as well say, well, it's here. I might as well enjoy the ride. All right, David. Hey, thanks so much. We're going to tune out for now. Stay with us for a few minutes for important disclosures. These really are very important. Kind of understanding of what we actually do cover and what we don't cover. But everybody be safe, and certainly there will be interesting things coming up this week that we'll talk about next Friday. So thanks a bunch, everybody. Securities offered through LPL Financial, LLC, member FINRA, and SIPC.org. Advisory services offered through LPL Financial, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Brian Peluso, Michael Kutch, and David Harper are registered representatives of LPL Financial, LLC. Content discussed is for informational purposes only and not intended as an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any security or investment strategy. Any opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of LPL Financial or its affiliates. All investments involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. This communication may include links or references to third-party websites. These links are provided as a convenience only. LPL Financial and its representatives are not responsible for the accuracy or content of such sites. Brian, Mike, and David and HPK Provident Advisors may only transact business in states where they are properly registered or exempt from registration. Please contact us directly for information regarding licensing and registration status. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should consult with your financial advisor, tax professional, and/or attorney regarding your specific situation before making any investment decision.